So hey, the Cleveland Browns getting Anthony Schwartz here. This is a very interesting pick, and they are speed at this point for the Cleveland Browns. I mean, you got Schwartz, who take your favorite wide receiver in this draft class. Schwartz is faster than that guy. I know this because Schwartz is faster than every wide receiver in this draft class. So getting a super quick guy who does have some other stuff, we'll talk about that, but definitely speed is his biggest attribute. Pair him with Jarvis Landry, Odell Beckham Jr. You're going to have fast corners to play against Cleveland. And the fact that he's, he can just sort of be a guy who, just comes in and has some value, like we've seen with Tampa Bay and Scotty Miller. See how they sort of just use Miller as kind of a deep threat? Well, that's what Schwartz can do, and the reality is, there's a lot of value in a guy who can get a 50-yard touchdown or even 60 or 70, given Baker Mayfield's huge arm. You pair those two together, that's a recipe for success, quite frankly. So yeah, let's just get into the film study and talk about what I like about him as a player. So let's start off with a play like this. This is what you guys want to see, right? This is basically why he gets drafted, is if you get a guy who can run a really fast 40, like Schwartz can, what you want to see him do is be able to do great on the outside, get past the defensive back, and with no safety help, or, if there's only one safety and it's not helping, you hope that they can win, get some separation, and make the catch. Even if you're not necessarily the most complete receiver, just doing stuff like that can really be helpful. I mean, think Scotty Miller for Tampa Bay. You don't have to be a complete receiver if you can run a sub 4.4. But one thing before I start this play is really going to be, look at how far off that defensive back is playing. Just notice that. So he's playing about 7 yards off. Keep that in mind. Right when this play starts, Schwartz, by the way, doesn't make a move here. And look at how open he gets. I know it went off screen for a second, but it's not because of a double move or anything. Usually when you see a guy that open, you say, okay, DB got fooled. That didn't happen. He just ran forward, and that's how open he got. He even extends this and is able to make the catch for a touchdown. So just that alone has value in the NFL. I'm sorry, but I don't care what anyone says. Yes, route running is great. Hip movement is great. Footwork is great. Speed is something that you just can't teach. And some guys have it and some guys don't. I guess you can teach it a little bit. You can get a little better, but not too much. And Schwartz is one of those guys where he's just faster than whatever defensive back you're going to put against him. Probably. I would say he has some moves. Like what's going to happen on this one is you have the 3 players on the top of the screen going out to block those 3 LSU players, and then he kind of runs underneath. It's almost like a wide receiver screen, but just a little bit different because Schwartz is currently lined up on the other side of the field. So that's kind of the creative way they're doing this. I like the play from Auburn. Not a bad 3rd down and 14 play. You're just trying to see what you can get right here. And watch how right when this play starts, you're going to see him run over the middle. And first he makes the catch, and really what's going to be key is that while a lot of guys I think would just run and pick up some yards, he's going to have some pretty good vision right here to notice exactly where he should go. But I want to talk about the move because again, he doesn't have horrible footwork. He's not just a speed guy. Speed is why he's drafted, but he does have some footwork too. Watch him cut back over the middle, and he does do a good job of getting the first down right there. And I don't know how many guys who got drafted get that first down. So that's something, key, reading a play and then just having the footwork to do it. And then of course having the speed to get through there quickly. But also like on a play like this where it's man coverage, that cover one play where a guy like Schwartz can really thrive. Let's be honest. Schwartz is not a slot receiver. He is a plus receiver. He is someone who wins on the outside primarily with speed, but because you have the speed, it can now put other guys in tough situations where they might want to give too much space because they don't want to get beat deep. And if you're doing that, you're going to have trouble. And that's just why speed matters so much for, a corner, for example, because if you're not as fast as the receiver you're covering, you're going to have trouble. You can kind of make it work if you're a receiver, but not a corner. And watch, right when this play starts, notice how much separation that Arkansas player is giving Schwartz right here. There's still 4 yards of separation further deep like that, just simply because, you're worried about getting burned deep. It logically makes sense. I don't even disagree with that decision, to be honest. But you are putting yourself in a tough situation when you do this, because as you see, Schwartz is going to be able to just simply cut and he gets wide open. So that's the kind of thing where great speed can often set stuff up, especially when we're talking on the outside. And it's also a little bit difficult because it's what do? You don't want to play 2 safeties just to cover him. So he can completely change a defensive game plan at times if if used perfectly. And you can have something like this where he can win in the slot occasionally, although this one is still him going to the outside. But what's going to happen is that you have another receiver who's running the go route, and then he's going to kind of fake as though he's just running a quick route to the flat, but then he runs deep underneath, and basically, as long as he can get past the defensive player who's covering sort of the middle of the field area on that side of the field, then the cornerback who's covering the bottom left-hand corner of the screen is going to be too far deep to cover Schwartz. Schwartz will be in that little pocket where he can get open, and it's going to be really well ran by him. Watch how once this play starts, good job of getting to the outside and then cutting like that. Does get open, and that's just a pretty easy catch for him. Takes a big hit too, so not the biggest guy, but good play, good route ran. Nothing wild there, but solid. And again, that's kind of my point, is that he's good enough at this other stuff that you can justify putting him on the field so he can be great in these go route situations. Okay, one more play. I guess this could be considered a concern is going to be shown on this one, where you have him kind of running this jet sweep motion. He's actually not going to just take the handoff, but he is going to eventually get the pass, so that's what's going to happen. And, this seemingly makes sense. He is, in fairness, going up against a really good corner, and the corner matters on this play. It's Tyson Campbell, a guy who I think he's going to be a star player in the NFL, or at least a really good one. He's someone who is severely underrated right now. And watch how right when this play starts, so it's not the best throw. Schwartz kind of has to go back to get it a little, which makes things a little bit more difficult. But, when he's playing with someone who kind of has some speed, now it's a little bit more difficult, and there are guys in the NFL who have some speed. So basically my point with this play is kind of just showing Schwartz isn't necessarily going to be able to work against every defense, but he will be able to work really well against certain defenses that don't have fast corners and don't like to play cover two. But also in this situation, ideally, if you have a fast guy, you'd also like to have a guy who can, make a move, right? When you want to run these kind of plays, you'd like a guy who can sort of make a juke, get out of these types of situations somewhat. But against NFL players, he just doesn't have that skill set. Watch him get tackled immediately. Again, good play from Campbell. He's a good player. So maybe you could argue it's a little unfair. But that's just kind of my point, is that a lot of what he's going to do is he's going to pick on guys who maybe aren't as good, even at the NFL level. I think he can do that. I just don't know if he's going to be able to do it consistently. To me, he isn't the number one receiver. I'm not even sure if he's a top three, a number 1, 2, or 3 receiver on your team, but he is the guy who you just have on the roster to go out and get these deep plays. That's what I think you have him for, and there is potential for better stuff. So he can justify himself getting playing time. That's kind of my point. At least that's what I think. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. What are your thoughts on Schwartz? Always love hearing from you. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.